So whether you're joining us from Uruguay or Italy or Singapore or Australia or Belgium or Norway, you're very, very welcome. And I'd like to extend a especially warm welcome to anyone who had to stay up late or get up very early to join us. Well done. For those of us who don't know us, Trellis is the national charity that supports therapeutic gardening here. And we have over 480 groups, gardening groups on our books that we support. We provide information and training and good practice sharing. And we aim to promote the highest quality of gardening services and enable everyone to get the best out of them. You can find links to all of our services and resources on the homepage, the Trellis website. Just to quickly recap this morning's session, we're going to run for about an hour. And there's going to be approximately 25 minutes, half an hour from Maxell, our speaker, and then we're going to have time for questions. So it's a real privilege for us to have with us Maxell with us this morning, our speaker. He's going to speak about the therapeutic horticulture movement in Singapore. Maxell works for the National Parks Board, where he oversees the development of therapeutic horticulture in Singapore and conducts training on the subject for therapists and undergraduate students. Trained as a horticulturalist from the University of Queensland and certified in therapeutic horticulture in the UK and Singapore, Max's passion for the healing effects of nature has led him to develop a therapeutic horticulture program for seniors. He co-authored Singapore's first medical study on the effects of horticulture therapy on seniors, as well as the design guidelines for therapeutic gardens in Singapore. He has also given presentations on gardens and human health at overseas conferences. I'm just going to spotlight Maxell for everyone. And I'm going to hand you over to our speaker this morning so that Max can take it away for our first presentation of the seminar speech. Welcome, Maxell. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Fiona, for the great introductions. And as a first speaker, I'm really honored to be talking at this seminar. And I hope everyone will take away something at the end of this. So maybe just a short introduction about myself. I work in the National Parks Board as introduced by Fiona. So my passion is really about horticulture and this added pleasure that I actually find that is that the healing effects of nature. And it's great that I get to marry these two, the healing effects of nature and my passion for plants. And after I joined NParks, the National Parks Board, I realized that I have great potential to realize my aspiration. And over the years, slowly and surely, we brought this movement together. And right now, you're looking at this background of my photo. So this background is actually one of the community gardens in Singapore. We have many of such gardens around, and we aim to actually convert some of these beautiful community gardens as a healing space for the residents as well. For the volunteers here, they could be equipped with skills to conduct therapeutic horticulture programs, to engage the seniors and also the vulnerable community that is living in the residential estates. So right now, I'm gonna share with you some of the progress and also the journey that we have in Singapore when it comes to therapeutic horticulture. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to post them, or you could email me at my direct email, and I'll be happy to assist you for that. So Singapore is known as a garden city. And for the past 50 years, we have been popular icons around the world, and people always recognize us as a place that is very green and a place where you have many gardens. And I guess over the years, how we evolve as a city-state, as a country, is that we reevaluate our vision. And the responsibility of that lies with National Parks Board. So in the more recent year, we reevaluated our vision to evolve from a city garden to a city in nature. And what that entails really is that we want to look at nature more holistically, and that includes the climate resilience, ecological resilience, and social resilience. So in particular, the last part about social resilience, that is really the key cornerstones that help to build the movement on therapeutic horticulture in Singapore, because we aim to actually use therapeutic horticulture as a way to build social resilience among the community in Singapore, be it the seniors, the children, the people who are disadvantaged, and as a way to bring people together. And how do we do that? So we have 4 strategies. First, we look into the research, because it has to be a science-based approach. So we gather the evidence from around the world, and we conduct our own research to ascertain contextual information to find whether the overseas studies does it apply in our local context. Second, we develop evidence-based design kind of therapeutic gardens and also program. So this gives rise from the research that we have done. We test out the kind of programs and we test out the kind of designs, and we find enough data to support that. So that's how we form the evidence-based design for both the therapeutic garden and the program. And third, we form a network. So what is this network about? This network is about the therapeutic garden and also the therapeutic program network, because we know that the strength of this program or this movement lies with the prevalence of the people who are practicing it, the accessibility to a therapeutic garden, the accessibility to the program. Last but not least, we need the people. We need people that can conduct the program. We need competent people that can design therapeutic garden. So we provide training. We provide training from undergraduate level, and we also provide ongoing training for adults, for people who are volunteers, for therapists, for landscape architects, and for just about anyone who is interested and passionate to grow the movement. So collectively, these 4 strategies help us to build our movement. And our movement is relatively young, because we started only in 2016. So just a short 5 years, we have created a kind of momentum and set ourselves a level that is able to share this data and share our experience with our overseas counterparts, just like today. First, I would like to talk about the research that we have conducted in Singapore. So the research first that we have conducted, it was in 2018, the published paper. It was on the effects of horticultural therapy on Asian older adults. So this research really talks into the data collected based on a randomized control trial. And we studied these 2 groups of seniors for a period of 6 months. And the kind of assessment that we conduct on them include blood sampling, because blood sampling is the most quantifiable data that you can find that's non-biased, that will tell you a lot about the kind of reactions that seniors will experience as they go through the program. And we also in recent time conducted research on the effects of this programming have on seniors. So it was only in 2020, which was last year, that we published a paper on that as well. And if anyone is interested to find out more details about our study, feel free to click on the link or scan the QR code provided here. Then you'll be brought to our website to learn more about the studies that we have conducted. So we talk about the program and the studies. What was it about? So this was the first study that we conducted in Singapore, the effects of horticulture therapy on Asian elderly. In this study, we have two groups of seniors. The sample size, overall sample size is 70. So one group of senior, they will go through their daily program, their own lifestyle as per normal. And the other group of seniors will go through the deliberate intervention designed by me. So we have the control group that is in the blue bar and the treatment group in the orange bar. So what we see here in the baseline comparison on the first chart for social connectedness is their ability to connect with people, the social interaction. And we saw this improvement between the baseline comparison and then on the 6 months between the control and the treatment group. So we saw an improvement in the social connectedness scale. And in the second scale that we did was psychological well-being. Again, we have a baseline assessment, and in the 6-month progress onwards, we saw an improve in the overall status of their psychological well-being. And the details of the study, again, you can find in our link provided. So the program itself, in short, I could describe to you, consists of walking in the park through designated routes whereby they can experience a sensory stimulation. And the second part of the program consists of a gardening or a nature craft base that would stimulate their fine motor skills, their social connectedness, and also sense of self-worth. And I would say that the program itself, progressively, it actually becomes more challenging over the period of the study. And that actually engages the seniors' mind and also allows them to challenge themselves. So that was the first study that we conducted in Singapore. So in Singapore, how do we define a therapeutic garden? We define it as an outdoor space, an outdoor garden, designed for a specific profile of users. And the design of the space is based on the evidence that we find in literatures that will help to meet the physical, psychological, and the social well-being of the people that use the garden. So we distinct that from just a nice and beautiful garden, because a therapeutic garden will need a specific profile. We usually identify the profile by working with the stakeholders. And once we know the profile of the users, we will design around it to meet their needs. Having said that, the therapeutic gardens is still a very nice space for everyone to rest and have respite from the daily livings. So much talk about this evidence-based design. Oh, what are we actually talking about? Evidence-based design here really refers to the suggestions and the findings from the literatures and worldwide literatures. So we gather this evidence, we compare the findings, and then we use the evidence that is the most recognized, and then we put them together in our design template. So what I'm going to share with you right now is some of the evidence-based design principles that we have gathered and used for gardens specifically for seniors, designed for persons with dementia. So the first aspects of it, we tend to have a simple layout. In that simple layout, the circulations is not complicated. It's either a simple loop or a double loop. And in that spacing, we usually have an active zone and a calm zone. So the active zone is where the users will engage in activities like gardening and crafts. And the calm zone is where the user will engage in immersive experience, sensory experience or reflective moments. And the second features about our therapeutic gardens is we will include senior-centric amenities. Senior-centric amenities, examples like toilets, because some of these seniors, especially seniors with dementia or seniors with cognitive impairment, they may have incontinence symptoms. And to give the ease of mind of the caregivers, we provide nearby toilet facility. And the toilet location is no further than 100 meters. In any case, if the seniors need to use the toilet, he or she will be able to be brought to the toilet easily. And in this garden, we also provide activity area like for exercise. So the exercise equipments are designed to allow seniors with mobility issues to use as well. And other inclusive features like the wheelchair accessible planters. So in our wheelchair accessible planters, we have experimented with different design. And the one that you see in the picture, which later on I will show you a zoom in photo of that and a bigger photo of that. That shape itself allows communication and social interaction while the seniors are doing the gardening activities. And to facilitate caregivers that are bringing their loved one to this garden independently, we provide interpretive signages that allow the user to interpret on the sensory experiences so that they can bring their loved ones around the garden and they themselves can perform the role as a guide. Moving on to the plants and the features. We have specific zones that we use different type of sensory plants to stimulate the sensory experiences we would like them to experience. And these zones are only obvious to a designer and also obvious to the guide. For anyone who is using a therapeutic garden, he or she will not be able to distinguish between the zones because it's a very seamless connection from a sight to sound and then to smell. So some of these senses, they are layered in such a way that they are complementary and they provide the kind of stimulation that is beneficial for the users. To date, in Singapore, we have 6 parks with therapeutic gardens. So now you may have a question, why do we distinguish between the identity of a park and a therapeutic garden? In our context, we build therapeutic garden within larger parks. And the reason is because we need a buffer green. We want to provide this healing environments away from the hustle and bustle of the traffic noise and the city noise. Therefore, we station these therapeutic gardens within a park and providing this greater healing and a more immersive space. And we have a target to build 30 therapeutic gardens by the year 2030. So now I'm going to show you some of the completed therapeutic gardens that we have in Singapore. Each of them have their own characteristic depending on the local profile. So on the top left, we have a Chongbaru Park. This is a park that is located in the center of Singapore. Being in the center of Singapore, they tend to have a population of higher populations of seniors. And in this particular park, we have provided a bigger shelter. And the shelter you can see in this slide. So the shelter is used as an activity zone for participants to engage in nature craft and also other gardening activity. Because in Singapore, most time of the year is really warm. Even right now, the temperature is about close to 30 degrees Celsius. So it's quite warm over here, even at the evening time. therefore providing a shelter, and we even include electronic fans to ventilate the space that would encourage the nearby nursing homes and also other senior facilities to bring their clients over here for the activities. And next, to the right side, we have an oval-shaped island. So this oval-shaped island was inspired when we visited a therapeutic garden in US. And we also designed this planter that surround this oval-shaped grass patch. This planter provide a different height. So it's not the same height throughout. This is to facilitate walking. So as a senior walk and hold on to the planter, he or she will have to train the confidence in walking independently. So this is sometimes used as a method to increase the confidence of seniors not relying on walking aids. But it's in such a natural setting, the senior will be enjoying the herbs and spices planted within the planter to realize that he or she is actually going through a therapy. And we have at the bottom left, you see this nice pavilion within a therapeutic garden. This was our first therapeutic garden, and it's the one that provides us a lot of learning opportunities, because after each program, we conduct a survey with the users. If the users are not able to respond, we will conduct a survey with the caregivers to find their user experience and the areas that we can improve. And we have Chongbaru Park. And in that park, because of the community there, they are rich in a farming background, we provided a lot of fruit trees. And this is kind of local context for the seniors for them to relate. Next, we have Telok Blangah Hill Park on the left side of the slides. So this particular therapeutic garden is situated in a nature reserve in our heritage park. It's the most immersive therapeutic garden because it's surrounded by forests. So this therapeutic garden provides the most enjoyable, the most serene kind of environments for contemplative exercises or mindfulness therapy. And next we have the Pongo Waterway. This is the one that you see with the oval-shaped wheelchair accessible planter. And this oval-shaped wheelchair accessible planter promotes interaction when the seniors are actually talking to each other while doing the activities at the same time. Well, that is the 6 therapeutic gardens that we have in Singapore to date. We all know that besides a therapeutic garden, it is truly the program that will activate the best effects, the best healing effects of a therapeutic garden. Therefore, we have Therapeutic Horticulture program. We define it as an engagement program that uses plant-related activities like gardening, craft, to achieve the preset goals. And these goals are usually predetermined before the clients come for the sessions. The goals are designed together with the caregivers or the nursing home that they come from. Most importantly, it has to be conducted by someone who is trained in this area to provide therapeutic horticulture. So how do people sign up for this program? As a nursing home or as a school for persons with special needs, they can go to our website to register for the sessions. The sessions are typically free of charge if they are from a voluntary welfare organization. In other words, if they are charity status, the program will be conducted for them free of charge. If they are not from a charity status, if they are a community organization, they would have to pay a fee. but the fee is heavily subsidized. So the programs at our therapeutic gardens are all conducted by trained guides. So the guides in our therapeutic gardens are trained by our department as well. So what can they anticipate when they come for the programming? So like I mentioned earlier, two kinds of programming. It could be gardening based or it could be nature craft. So in gardening based program, we will focus on the tactile experience. We will focus on reminiscence because the materials that it use, they provide sensory experience of smell, and also it reminds them because a lot of these materials are ingredients that they use for cooking. So you remind them about the food that they used to cook with, and you will open conversation. In nature craft, we focus on mindfulness, creative expression, and sometimes fine motor skills as well. One of the most popular activity in nature craft would be the sandbag making, where materials are gathered from the garden and they are cut into small little pieces, placed into a mesh bag, and the fragrance of the plants will be emitted through these mesh bags. And they will keep these mesh bags with them in their bags or under their pillows. So we mentioned about the therapeutic gardens in the parks. How about the therapeutic gardens in other areas? We also actively promote therapeutic garden in the healthcare and the nursing homes. Where possible, these hospitals and nursing homes, they likewise will build therapeutic gardens. And how do we assist them? We provide them with design advice. We go through the conceptualization of the therapeutic garden with them, and sometimes we design for them. At the end of the day, these organizations, they will then implement the garden within the budget that they are provided by the organizations. So to provide context, our parks, our regional parks are usually not so close to the apartments. So the neighborhood parks usually are located maybe about a few hundred meters away to sometimes a few kilometers away, depending on where you stay. However, within the apartments, there are small pocket parks. And what do? We approach the local council. We approach the local council and promote to them the idea of building these therapeutic gardens for the residents right underneath the apartments. And we are happy to say that some of the local councils are receptive to the idea. And we have also successfully co-implemented one such therapeutic garden in the western part of Singapore. We are on our way to convince and meet up with more local council and persuade them to implement therapeutic garden for the benefits of their residents. Now we talk about building capacity. So we have touched on research. We have touched on building network. We have touched on evidence-based design. The most important part is still the people. So right now we're going to talk about how do we build the capacity, how do we provide training opportunity and self-learning guides and resources. So the first one I'd like to share is our design guidelines for therapeutic gardens and therapeutic horticulture programs that's available for everyone to download by just going to our website, or you can just scan this QR code to be brought to our website. This therapeutic garden is quite comprehensive. The design angle is aimed at designing garden for seniors and also program for seniors. We are also on our way to publish other design guidelines for other profiles of clients, like children with special needs and also persons with heart conditions. Secondly, we conduct workshops. We conduct workshops that will train the volunteers, the therapists, and the caregivers on how to conduct these programs for their seniors and for their clients. We conduct these workshops sometime at the centers and also sometime at our venues, at our training halls. So in our hands-on training, we will usually bring them through what it entails in the program, the step-by-step to how to conduct all this program. In addition to providing training, we also provide them a starter kit. So this starter kit will help them to kickstart any kind of program that they would like to conduct, because this would lower the barrier of entry, will help the centers ease into conducting therapeutic program for their clients. Lastly, we also have training courses. So these are professional courses. Some of them are a few day course. Some of them is a full 12.5 day courses. And at the end of some of these courses, they have exam as well, so that the candidate will undertake these courses. They will be properly certified and they'll be competent to either design therapeutic garden or even to conduct the program or even function as a trainer for other institutions. Well, I guess that's the end of my sharing for the Therapeutic Horticulture movement in Singapore. And that is my email. So I look forward to your questions today. And if you have other questions, feel free to email them to my mailbox. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maxell. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed listening to you. I was really stunned by the ambition that's clearly there in Singapore, 30 gardens in parks by 2030. And then, as I understand it, the hospital and healthcare settings are additional. So that's incredible, and an inspirational design too. So thank you. I can see that there are quite a few questions. Are you ready for those, Maxell? Have you had a chance to have a drink and
Sure.
rest your voice for a couple of seconds?
Yeah, I'm excited to engage our attendees today as well.
Okay, great. I think if you can unshare your screen, I think maybe everyone
Sure, I will do that.
Then we can see everyone, and I'll hand you over to our question coordinator.
Great, thank you. Yes, we've got lots flooding in now, so hopefully I can keep up. The first few that we had in, does Singapore have its own national journal of therapeutic horticulture? So a kind of recognized publication?
Right. So our research documented under our Center for Urban Greenery and Ecology. And so we do not have an independent therapeutic horticulture journal. It's documented under National Parks Board, because we conduct other kind of horticulture research as well beyond therapeutic horticulture. But who knows, for future we might have an independent journal that is just solely and focused on therapeutic horticulture.
Great, thank you. Next question from Jenny is, do you have support or funding from the government? Is the National Parks Board a government program? Is that?
Right. So National Parks Board is a government agency. Thank you for that question. I think quite many people will have the same question in their mind, because when they see that we are able to develop programs and conduct outreach in that manner, because we even provide advice, we conduct training, and none of that would cost the receiver a single cent. except if they attend our certified courses. Otherwise, all the training and all the advice we provide, they are absolutely free. While we do need commitment, so we have a way to evaluate whether the request is genuine. So upon confirming that there is commitments from the organizations, we will provide the advice and training necessary.
Great, thank you. Next question we've got here. How many people attend the projects that you run in the gardens across them all? Do you have an overall number?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure about the question. Do you mean how many people are in these operations with National Parks Board to drive this?
That is a question too, but also how many people actually take part in the activities at the parks? Do you know how many people?
Okay. Yeah, so the overall statistics, the last we checked, that was in 2019, because due to COVID in last year, all the activities have been suspended. But the last we checked in 2019, we have about 1,600 people that have benefited, that participated in therapeutic horticulture programs. That means they are beneficiary. They come from nursing homes, senior facilities, care centers, and they just come to attend the program as a beneficiary. Yes.
Great, that's a big number. Another question here, you talked about the kind of social impacts and things, but were there any measures when you did your research on the economic impacts of the interventions that national parks have put in place?
That is an interesting question. So that is a question that is we are still looking at. So that is something related to what we call it as productivity longevity, in a way that whether if we equip seniors with more sets of skills, are they able to lead a more productive lifestyle? You know, this productivity can be measured by whether they volunteer or they take up casual employments, or they are able to return some kind of contribution to the society. So I think that is something that we are interested and we are evaluating and perhaps going to study about it soon. At this point, we have not known about the economic benefits, but just on an anecdotal basis, if seniors are more independent and if their well-being can be improved, then we know that they have less reliance on the need to go for medical care. They are more able to get community assistance. They are better connected to other kind of community social welfare scheme, so that can reduce the burden on the acute care in the hospitals for other more urgent needs.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Another question, how do you advertise or promote the sessions to seniors? Do you have direct links with the care settings around, or how do you?
Right. So that's a good question. So how do we promote the activities or even the program? So we have a few tiers of promoting. The first one is through our mainstream media. So our mainstream media, they do announce when we have a launch of new therapeutic gardens, when we completed a new study that has impact on the community. So that's mainstream media. And through our own media, we use digital platforms like Facebook. And the more critical one, I would say, is also through our network. In Singapore particular, I think we work hand in hand with our other agencies, our government agencies. So we have government agencies that take care of senior welfare. We have government agencies that take care of vulnerable populations. So we tap into their network to reach out to all these specific centers. And after we reach out to these centers, we promote these programs or this form of therapeutic garden to them. And if they need funding assistance, then they would seek out their own funding avenues. So we do have a network. So through the network, we grow the program. So I think that is the way that we grow most effectively.
Great. Next question from Sally. What are your top 5 sensory plants that you use in the gardens? What are your favorites?
So I think for sensory plants, right, because I think I was very lucky because I did my attachment in Edinburgh, and that's how I met Trellis, and that's how I met Fiona as well during my exchange in Edinburgh. I went out to Trellis and visit, and also during my internship there, I was involved in providing therapeutic horticulture for people with special needs. And from there, I realized that in every country, the favorite sensory plants are always different because it depends on the local history, the cultural difference, and also the climate. I would say that in Singapore, our top favorite sensory plants are all related to culinary. They are all related to food. So I'm not sure if it's the same for your country, do feel free to share. So for our top sensory plants, they are plants that emit fragrance. They are plants that are used in cooking. They provide nice flavors, fragrance for the nose, for the taste. Yes, so they are all related to the food plant, like lemongrass, pandanus, and yeah, so they're all the food plants.
Yeah, I think that's quite common here as well, isn't it? That's a favorite. Another question, we've got a couple from Joan actually. Are the sessions you run for mixed abilities, or is it really only seniors at the moment that you work with?
So we have a huge demand for programs targeted at seniors, primarily because we have many senior care facilities, and also due to our demographics. So we have a population that is aging faster than some other countries. Therefore, the demand naturally for senior programs are higher. Having said that, the next in line that has high demand are the persons with special needs. So we work a lot with different stages of them. So we have worked with the schools that serve children with special needs. We also work with the centers that serve adults with special needs. So for the children, they are more geared towards perhaps a vocational training, vocational horticulture program. And for the adults with special needs, they are more geared towards well-being, to keep these adults engaged, to also give them meaningful interactions with nature.
Excellent, thank you. Joan also asked, what are the reasons that some kind of local authorities resist creating a pocket park in their apartment areas?
So just now when I showed a photo of the apartment, not quite sure whether it was clear. The apartment itself, the surrounding environment, is not a gated community. So it's pretty much a public space managed by the local council. So some of the resistance that we might face with such public space in a non-gated community could be the lack of funding, because to build a therapeutic garden is an intensive investment into sensory plants, and also in some of these infrastructures like the wheelchair planters, facilities for shelter, and also some other facilities like Trellis. So some of these infrastructures could be slightly more expensive. So that could be one of the challenges that they face. Yeah.
Okay. Someone did ask the important question, who made the concrete wheelchair planters?
So the wheelchair planters, the design is not, well, it's not, how should I put it? We actually first, we have landscape architect to work with us. So there is a requirement, there is already a specification. If you look under universal design, there is already a specification about wheelchair accessible planters. And what we did is that we took that specifications and we modify it, because after we realized that with different materials, so our more recent development is that we do not use concrete. Instead, we use weatherproof metal material, because we know that metal is thinner. So when you have a thinner retaining wall, that will provide better leg room and also better planting space within the planter. Whereas for a concrete kind of wheelchair accessible planter, the limiting factor is that sometimes the retaining wall is too thick, and that limits the amount of leg room, the leg recess, and also the planting space, without impeding the shoulder movement for excessive shoulder lateral movement by the user. So there is a specification online. Yeah.
Thanks, Max. And is it your own national parks team that builds those, or is it a contractor? Who actually makes them?
Right. So yes, so we have contractors who will build it. The specification is provided by our internal team. So we provide the specifications, and the contractors would then build these wheelchair planters.
Perfect.
Okay, somebody else has asked, is it possible to study therapeutic horticulture in Singapore as a foreign student? There's probably lots of people on here wondering that now.
Right. Interesting question. So our professional course, so I think you are referring to our professional course. It's a 12.5 days course. Right now, we only have in-person. We only conduct that in person. But again, due to COVID, a lot of these courses have been taken online. So we would not rule out completely at this point that we could conduct a hybrid format, and so that participants from around the world can also attend this comprehensive course as well.
Great, we'll look out for that one. Another question from Joan here. Having travelled to several countries in your research, do you think that Singapore has a greater respect for its seniors and is more readily acceptable to supporting them?
Well, I think having seen the context in Australia, in UK, and in Canada itself, so there's 3 countries where I look at their therapeutic gardens and social and therapeutic horticulture program in general. I think they all have their own age, they have their own flair. I would say they have their own good system in place to take care of the seniors. I think in Singapore, the advantage that I can see is that we have a government to drive this movement, because I'm representing the National Parks Board. So I'm employed by the government to drive this very meaningful program, right, to make it possible for everyone. And I understand in most countries is driven by non-government organizations. They raise funds and they try to drive these programs as well. So I think that's our advantage. But in terms of support-wise, I think every country has its own good way of doing it.
Another question about your priorities for the new therapeutic parks that you want to create. How do you determine where you build them? What's your kind of priority list for them, if you like?
Right. So how we determine the next location for our therapeutic garden, we determine it by the local population profile. So if we are designing therapeutic garden for children with special needs, then we look at the area, whether they have a natural catchments of schools and centers for persons with special needs. Then we will locate a therapeutic garden there. And also if we know of a certain town that has a higher population of seniors, then that town would have priority over other town when it comes to development of therapeutic garden. So since I'm on this topic about developing therapeutic garden, I also like to share that all our therapeutic gardens are co-funded or 100% sponsored. So for us, we actively try to interest the sponsors and the community partners to be on this journey with us to co-develop this therapeutic garden network, either by providing us the sponsorship in terms of money or in terms of materials. So this is another effort that we constantly try to do.
And is that corporate, as in business partners that you look, sponsors that you look for? Is it?
Yes, yes. So we have a department that actively look out for sponsors for all kinds of greenery program, and therapeutic horticulture is one of the program that that department actively go out to preach to sponsors, corporate sponsors like the big banks and also the multinational corporates. They are some of our targets, and also some of our local companies as well. They have been more and more forthcoming to provide sponsorship in this area.
Great. Another question from Joan. One slide showed the Centre for Urban Greenery and Ecology. Can you tell us a bit more about that and their involvement in therapeutic horticulture?
Right. So as an organization, National Parks Board, as a government agency itself, there are many departments. Centre for Urban Ecology is the department that oversees the research in greenery for the whole of our organizations. So their involvement is that they will co-lead all research efforts, and also they would provide the training. So the courses that I mentioned, the certified courses, they are also conducted by our Center for Urban Ecology. But that is purely just on the aspects of therapeutic horticulture. Beyond that, they do other kind of projects that has to do with urban ecology and also other kind of greenery projects in Singapore as well.
Great, thank you. One very last question. I think, Max, we've bombarded you here. Can local groups request a garden in their area if there's a particular need? So you haven't come to them, but can they approach you and say, we would like to have a garden?
Definitely, definitely. Through our platforms, when we go out to talk to them, sometime they will come back to us through words of mouth. They will write into us, they approach us. We always welcome all these requests with open arms. We are more than eager, we are more than happy to help any organizations that are keen to build therapeutic gardens, to set up therapeutic horticulture programs, or even overseas partners that would like to partner us to promote this, cross-learning opportunities, even like this, Trellis, right? Thanks to Trellis for providing this platform for us to share our experiences and able to learn from each other.
You're very welcome, Maxell. I really enjoyed that, and it's clear that everyone here that is listening enjoyed it too. The word inspiring has been used at least 4 or 5 times, at 6, it's going up as I speak. So people really found that interesting and impressive, and it's given us lots to think about, because it's such a different model from here, where we're often having to browbeat people into being inspired about therapeutic gardens. The ambition there and what you've achieved is incredible. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you very much.
I would like to invite everyone to show their appreciation, as well as putting lovely comments in the chat with their reactions button, or maybe just showing their applause. The reactions button's down on the bottom right, of your screen. And we'll save the chat so that you can see what people are saying. Our seminar week is free, but if you would like to donate, you can use the donation button, and we'll share a link in the chat for that. And you can also go to our website. There's also our plastic-free gardening book offer, special offer for this week, and that goes, all the proceeds goes to supporting our work as well. I'd like to thank all of you for taking part in these sessions. Without you, we wouldn't really have a seminar series this week, and it's lovely to see so many people from around the world joining us. And we hope that you'll consider coming to another seminar after Maxell started us off so well this week. Just one more thank you to Maxell for your presentation and all the hard work that went into that. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone's attention, and I really appreciate today's platform, and I look forward to hearing from everyone soon.